listener production.
The creators of this podcast would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which it is recorded. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are the first storytellers of this land. We pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, as well as any Indigenous people who may be listening today.
The following episode of TOFOP is rated MA for mature audiences. It may contain sexual references, time travel references, allegations of bin misconduct, and mild coarse language. TOFOP advises that this episode is not suitable for anyone under the age of 15 or anyone who thinks a comedy conversation between two old mates sounds like a terrible idea for a show. Minors must be accompanied by a parent or guardian. This is John Deek speaking.
Everyone relax. This is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Wil Anderson. Hello, and thank you for watching.
And this is for us. It's like a two-parter. We did one late last night. I went to bed. I woke up. The first thing I'm doing is a TOFOP. So I think this is the first time for us. I don't know if we've ever done a TOFOP like this where one of us has just had a break to go to sleep and then woken up and gone back into TOFOP again.
Whereas I've had a full day. So for me, I got up early to do TOFOP this morning, and since then what have I done today? I'll run you through what I've done today.
Okay.
I went down to Bunnings because I needed to get some, it's Sunday here and the weather was nice, and so I wanted to do some gardening and I needed some stuff to do some gardening, so I went down to Bunnings, and then I walked to Bondi and got a cup of coffee. Yeah, I walked from the Bunnings because I knew that I wouldn't be able to park in Bondi because it was Sunday and it was sunny in Sydney. So I was correct. I was like, park about 15 minutes walk from Bondi and walk into Bondi. That was the best thing to do. So I went and got a cup of coffee, and then I took Ramona, who was in my lap, for a walk, and then my friend Stu, who is a brilliant photographer. He works with an incredible charity, actually, called Addison House, and they put together these Christmas hampers. So there's 1,000 of them, and they go to families that obviously, for a lot of them, it's the only Christmas present they have, or the only sort of food that they have for Christmas. And so he came over to get me to shoot some sort of content to just plug that and get people to donate. So spent the afternoon doing that with him, and then I went in and did The Project, which is an Australian TV show. So I went in and plugged my book, because my book comes out on Tuesday when we're recording this, and then I drove home to do this again. So you've slept in between, and I've done a million different things.
Well, I mean, I barely slept. So we're staying with a friend in London, and she's very kindly given us her master bedroom, which, if you've ever stayed in a London flat, is it's master is being generous. And so it's the three of us. It's me, Jem, and Iona all sleeping in a double bed. And I
was going to say it's you, Jem, and your friend all sleeping in the master bed, and Iona gets her own room.
Yeah. No, and Iona has this she doesn't sleep. I don't know if you were to look at it from a bird's eye view, she doesn't sleep vertically down the bed. She doesn't sleep parallel to the sides of the bed. She sleeps diagonally across the bed.
Across.
So it's, so across. So I wake up at some point with a foot or a fist or something in my face every morning. So that was mine. I actually woke up early and was like, okay, I'm just going to get up and go for a bit of a walk. And thank God, Will, it is raining and it's cold in London. I've never been so relieved.
God. London's back, baby. It's hot.
It was
it's
awesome.
Hot and sunny in Australia, and it's cold and wet in London. And this is the great thing. For us, it's only been 12 hours or whatever since we spoke to each other, and yet things are back to normal. Everything's returned to how it should be.
That's what I was hoping to open Twitter and find out Elon Musk has quit. He decided after cracking some gags that it wasn't working for him, and he's handed it back over. Did you read? And I'm not sure if this is fake news. Maybe Mike, if you want to fact check this or not. So Jack Dorsey, after selling Twitter, has started beta testing a new social media platform called Aqua Blue or sky blue or something
More like
this.
bloody cuck testing, if you know what I'm saying. Absolute beta testing, the bloody beta cuck that he is, because bloody Elon Musk is the man, mate. He is a bloody alpha, and he's going to let all the bloody this is good topical material, by the way, because by the time people hear this, like Twitter might not exist anymore. Yeah,
but that's what I'm thinking. It feels like someone has like been driving this car, like this Audi, you know, that was like 10 years ago. It was a great car, but it's been making this weird rattle. And some dickhead with too much money who wants to impress his girlfriend and his mates is willing to pay 4 times what it's worth. And you're like, that's great. I'm switching to a hybrid car. I'm going to something that's going to run a lot more efficiently.
We've got to sell this house before they get a pest inspection, because there are termites riddled through this entire place.
And speaking of stuff I found online, Will, I found this article. I'm not sure if you saw this headline during the week. It was topical when we were recording this. It'll be a month old by the time people hear this. The headline is "World's Dirtiest Man Dies After Taking a Bath."
Oh, yeah, I saw this headline, and then I didn't click on the article because I was okay. Anyway, I assume you're going to run me through the world's dirtiest.
Oh yeah, I'm going to
man.
run you through it. I'm going to run you through this, and I thought there was an interesting topic to present to you because you are someone who famously doesn't like smelly things or bad smells or anything gross.
Well, here's what I will say. My standards for what smelly and gross is did change considerably during COVID, when you're not seeing anybody else anymore, and, you know, that sort of situational depression sit in that some days you're just like, I'm not going to have a shower today. Why will I bother having a shower today? Because I'm going to and living on a farm on a property where there's like more things that will make you dirty and like a bit more smelly. I think that I am not the man in so many different ways that I was before COVID, but
I would go back even further than that. When I first met you, before you owned dogs, you were like Felix from the Odd Couple. You were just like, I don't like smelly things. I don't like things that sniff my crotch. I don't like anything gross and weird.
Don't like things that bark. I don't
or
like things that you have to pick up the
you
poo.
hate dogs.
Hang on, it's weird. Do I hate dogs?
Yeah. But you were like dogs to you. When I first met you, I think dogs epitomized everything that you thought was gross and disgusting. They're slobbery, they're dirty, they stick their noses in places that they shouldn't go. There's like poo all the time. But you have since acclimatized. Your love of dogs, I think, has eased you. That's been your soft launch for being a gross dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I've spent like 5 weeks recently, going through my dog's first heat cycle, her period, with her like literally bleeding on everything in my house. And I'm like, yeah, this is cool. It's fine. This is a totally natural thing. I am absolutely fine with this. And yeah, if I flash back to 15 years ago and you told me, I would be absolutely cool with that situation. Like even the other day, I didn't have a dog bag in public. Oh, this is how things have changed, right? So I thought that I had a dog bag in my pocket and I didn't. And so my dog did a poo and I am a responsible person. So I got my mask. I had a spare mask in my pocket.
Yeah.
And so the mask is actually pretty good for dog poo, right? Like it's got that sort of like, there's a natural scoop and fold in the middle of it. You have to go, change your mask over every few days anyway. So like this was a spare one that I had in my pocket and I was like, okay, this is great. I'm going to use the mask. But what I hadn't counted on was much like, on Mexican night, if you overload your taco, there's going to be bits of the taco that spill out like onto you. And there was bits of the taco that spilled, like that was about to spill out of the taco. And I took my other hand and just finessed the taco filling back into the taco so that I could
like
go
Cake
over and
Boss, like the world's grossest episode of Cake Boss. You did the icing around the edge of your turd cake.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'll just go and wash my hands afterwards. So I made the choice to get dog poo on my hands because it was the responsible and easy thing to do. So yes, I do believe that I am a different person to what I used to be.
100%. I remember when Junior was around, if I had forgotten a dog bag, I also was like a responsible dog owner and felt terrible if I didn't pick up the poo. I once tried to pick up a turd, and he wasn't as big as Toddy. Tried to pick up like a Jack Russell's poo with a leaf. I tried to find the biggest leaf I could find. And like, what are those things you get from like Asian restaurants where it's like they'll wrap a leaf like a vine
bamboo
leaf around rice, or something like that. But the structural integrity of the poo was not like if it had been like a dry bone poo, it would have been easier to pick up. But it was it was too soft,
like a budding sausage. You just whack it in a bit of bread and carry it away. But
it was not like that. It was like trying to pick up porridge. And so then I had to get a second large leaf that I was holding underneath it. So I was like trying to cradle this poo. But yeah, I think like and dogs, dogs are a good lead into having kids because then once you have a kid, it's that again. But like, at least with a dog, you can take it to the park, like pick it up with a leaf or a mask. But there's none of that. I remember being on a flight with Iona when she was 6 months old, and just before we started our descent, I was like, okay, I'll take her to the bathroom and get her changed. And it was just like a complete poo explosion. Like it was like just diarrhea and everything. And the plane was doing this, and you're in that little kind of like airplane toilet bounce, like smaller than a phone booth. And I'm trying to keep my baby stable on this little change table while trying to clean up the poo. And then in the end, I'm like, I was trying to be neat about it. And then I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I've got to be like a mechanic. A mechanic doesn't try and avoid getting grease on himself. He just goes in and he changes. So I just stuck my hands in, got everything done I needed to. But then was like, I can't let anyone else come into this. So I then spent the next 5 minutes like with a wet towel going around the toilet trying to find anywhere that my handprints had been or there was any evidence of what had gone on in this, what horror had unfolded in this airport.
Well, you know what
toilet.
the thing is? There was you were probably cleaning up other people's poo at that point.
Oh my God.
There was probably pre-existing poo already on the walls of that airplane. Like this is the end of the flight. The shit that has got, the cleaners probably came in and just went, oh my God, this toilet has never been this clean at the end of the flight. This is amazing.
Did I ever tell you this story? And I'm sure this is probably like an early TOFOP episode, but I used to work at a pancake restaurant. There was a obscure chain of restaurants. I believe they started in Adelaide and they came to Melbourne briefly, but it was Birdie's. They're a pancake restaurant, like a rival to the Pancake Parlour. Birdie's Pancake Steak and Seafood. And I worked at the very first restaurant they opened in Melbourne. And I mean, there was a bunch of weird things that happened at this restaurant. I think it was the guys who opened the restaurant, they were either Scientologists or some other fringe kind of religious sect. They underpaid us hugely. Like I think I was making like $5.30 an hour or something like that as like a 15-year-old dishwasher. But I remember one day, part of my duties as a kitchen hand was like you were sort of like a jack of all trades cleaner as well. So you'd do the dishes and you'd mop the floors and then you'd have to go do like a toilet check at the end of the night, mop the floors, all that kind of stuff. And I remember I was finishing early and one of the other guys, the other kitchen hands, it's his job to go and do the toilets. And he went in and he came running out and he was like, I can't go in there. I can't go in there. And I was like, what's wrong? And it's like, someone's done something fucking crazy in there. And I've gone in and someone in one of the stalls in what appeared to be like poo had written all you can eat because Birdie's was like a buffet restaurant. So like, but it was very legibly written. It wasn't like, it didn't seem like an impulsive act. It looked like someone had taken their time and pooed into their own hand or maybe fished it out of the bowl and very legibly wrote all you can eat on one of the stalls. It was just like, I remember the two of us being like, well,
I am more comforted, but I am more comforted by the idea. I do think we've talked about this before, so I'll be interested, but I can't remember what we talked about. So I'll be interested to see how this riff matches the original riff. But what I'm going to say is that you say it looked premeditated. I can only hope it was premeditated. Like, if that was a crime of opportunity, if they've gone in there, they've got some shit on their hand and they've just gone, oh, well, I guess I might as well take advantage of the situation. That to me is more disturbing than the fact that somebody's gone in there on purpose to do it. Is there a chance that it's a commentary on the nature of all-you-can-eat restaurants, right?
Or the quality of the food served at this particular restaurant. Like maybe that's what it was. It's like all you can eat, sure, but this is what it does when you eat as much as you can. Because I think Birdie's had there was a chart, and if you ate the most pancakes, so I think the record holder at that stage was 24 pancakes in one sitting by this guy called Vaclav Bartor. I still remember his name, Vaclav Bartor. He came in and he ate 24 pancakes in one sitting, and they were large pancakes. Like this is no Rowan Marshall 14 chicken nugget situation. This is that's a lot of pancakes.
Vaclav Bartor, what's his name?
Vaclav Vaklav, and his surname was Baator, and it stuck in my mind because I wasn't there when Vaclav Bartor ate the 24 pancakes, but I was like, what a name. And it sounds like it checks out, right? Like if I told you a guy called Vaclav Bartor ate 24 pancakes in one sitting, you'd be like, oh yeah.
Well, I want to know, because that's a very distinctive name. Can you spell it one more time? Because I'm going to get Mike to Google and see if he can track down any additional information on Vaclav Bartor, because there can't be too many Vaclav Bartors getting around, right? It's not a common name, is it?
I don't know. I've never actually thought to search it. Vaklav Baator, Vaclav Bartor.
Okay, well let's set Mike.
He was the Joey Chestnut.
Yeah, because I want to know: was he a professional eater? Like, was he the sort of guy who went around trying to? Because there's not a lot of that anymore, is there? Like places that have the. I mean, I don't know. I don't see a lot of places.
Every time I see a professional eater of some kind, I'm like, this is why terrorists attacked the West. Like, this is the most obscene. Display of gluttony and waste of food, and
I don't want this food. I'm doing it as a competition. I'm eating
competition.
This.
I'm not even enjoying it. I'm not even doing it for sustenance.
It's horrible.
It radicalizes me every time I see an eating competition. I'm like, that is disgusting. It's a waste of everything.
Yeah, there are people starving, and your competition is just eating as much food as you possibly can. We have Mike on the mic. Have you found any information about Vaclav Bartor, mate?
No, nothing.
Oh,
I can't see anything. He's
amazing.
No trace. I keep fishing, but nothing so far.
Can you Google Vaclav Bartor and pancakes? Have you tried that? Just in case, like in the pancake world, they're still talking about Vaclav because I really want to know what he's up to these days. He might be dead. Rest in peace.
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
Nothing. Do you think, is it possible that it was a pseudonym in the same way that like people, when they go to trivia nights, they'll invent a name? Like, because do you really want to be known as the guy who ate 24 pancakes at Birdie's Pancake Steak and Seafood?
No. I mean, I guess that's right. He's like, this is something that I am not that proud of achieving.
Mike, sorry, just check. Is Vaclav a common name? Is Bartor a common name? Like, can we trace the lineage of where that even comes from? Like, is it a completely made up name, or is it like, because to me it sounds like Turkish or something like that.
Are there other Vaclavs? Are we getting any other Vaclavs? If you just put Vaclav in, what comes up?
Google wants me to change it to Vaclav with a C.
Are you getting emotional? Is the search for Vaclav?
Is there any chance that he was spelt with a C instead of a K?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure that could be the case. We're talking 30 years ago, my memery of this.
I mean, I've got a Vaclav Barta, Barta. Could that be Vaclav Barta?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it became a running joke amongst me and my friends. Like, that became the descriptor for anyone who was greedy. You'd call him a Vaclav. Like, it sort of became, common usage amongst my friends and I. And then so I imagine it could have morphed and adapted. So that could be that. Who is the Vaclav you've discovered?
Vaclav Barta is a Czech singer, songwriter, and actor. but he doesn't look like he's our guy, unfortunately. He represented the Czech Republic in the Eurovision Song Contest in 2015.
How many pancakes can he eat? Does it say?
It does not say, unfortunately. Vaclav. There's a Vaclav Neudebata. Oh, no, that's the same guy.
So there's no Vaclav, Vaklav. That's a completely invented name.
No. Not that I'm seeing. No Vaclav. Let's see if I just Google Vaclav. What am I getting? Okay. There was Vaclav, of course, the demon from the TV show Charmed. Vaclav was a demon who used a camera to trap people in the TV show
Marcus
Charmed.
Graham? Is that the one played by Marcus Graham, Australia's own Marcus Graham?
Really? Played
Marcus
by
Graham
William Snow. No, William Snow.
Was he the rapper who did Informer?
Vaclav is also a character in World of Warcraft. There's a World of Warcraft character called Vaclav.
And his power up is he can eat 24 pancakes in one sitting.
Okay, I'm going to say Vaclav and pancakes and just see what I get. Baklava pancakes is what I got. Got a great recipe for baklava pancakes.
Okay, so Mike's found that the name Vaclav, spelt with a C, Vaclav, is a boy's name of Czech origin, meaning more glory. Well,
checks out.
I mean, he did literally checks out. Nice pun. But he literally, he was glorious. He ate the most pancakes at Bertie's Pancake, Steak and Seafood. But to your point of whether or not it was a comment on gluttony itself, because it did have a very Seven. I mean, this would have predated the movie Seven by about 4 years, but it did feel like a serial killer kind of motive, like scrawling something on the scene of the crime, scrawling something on the wall.
Yeah, it's the I know what you did last summer. It's like I know what you ate, and this is the result of it.
Yeah, well, I was thinking more in Seven. You know, gluttony. Doesn't he write gluttony on the wall? He's forced that guy to eat until his stomach bursts, and then he writes like gluttony on the wall in like entrails or something like that.
Have you ever? So I've been to Sizzler. Have you ever dined at an all-you-can-eat restaurant? Sizzler aside, did you ever dine at Sizzler? You would dine at Sizzler, right?
Yeah. Does a hotel buffet count? Because they're all-you-can-eat.
No, doesn't count.
So a restaurant specifically designed
to be all-you-can-eat.
So what? We went the Swagman. Let's bring out the big guns. Swagman, Sizzler. In Australia, that's about it, right? Do we have any other? There
used to be the all-you-can-eat Pizza Hut. It used to be like Pizza Hut used to do all-you-can-eat.
Well, I think Sizzler only came to Australia in the mid-90s because, funnily enough, there was a Sizzler opened right next to Bertie's Pancake, Steak and Seafood. That's what shut Bertie's down, was we couldn't compete with Sizzler. But I don't even know if I ever ate at it. But to answer your question, yes, I've definitely eaten in an all-you-eat restaurant, but I don't think I've done it since my teens. Because when you're a teenager, you can eat everything for hours. But yeah, I don't recall doing it apart from a hotel buffet. I mean, I literally was at a hotel buffet a week and a half ago. And my thing about hotel buffets is that I will overeat because I need to get my money's worth. Like I try and work out what it's cost me, and then I try and eat an equivalent amount plus like an extra 50% on top of that.
Okay, so so there is an all-you-can-eat restaurant down the road from where I live, where I am in Sydney, and I drive past it regularly. It is a type of cuisine that I just cannot imagine suiting the all-you-can-eat format. What is the type of cuisine it is?
Okay, so it's not like seafood.
Well, I imagine that it does have seafood. Like
so is it like
this style of food includes seafood.
Okay, all right. Now, is it sort of specific to like a region? Is it like like Mexican? Okay, right.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a all you can eat Greek?
No.
Or you can seafood.
Or you can eat Greek makes sense to me. Like, a lot of like you'd have
tapasy.
like spit meats and like then you've got like dips and like breads. That to me, if it was like all you can eat Greek, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that sounds pretty fun. I'll go to an all you can eat.
Yeah, it's a lot of plattery type stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to have $400 worth of saganaki, thank you, at your all you can eat Greek restaurant.
Just pile the halloumi up this high, as high as I can stand.
So no, not Greek. That makes sense. I'd be fine with a Greek one.
Northern Hemisphere or Southern Hemisphere?
Yep. No, Southern Hemisphere.
Southern Hemisphere. All you can eat. Caribbean. All you can eat. Fijian. Or you can eat.
No, something much more popular a cuisine than that. Like not niche in the way that you're thinking. This is
okay.
This is a very popular cuisine, but it's normally served in small portions rather than like in an all-you-can-eat format. That's the thing that is fascinating about it to me.
So it's not tapas.
No.
Small portion.
But tapas is kind of a good clue, not that region, but that style of serving of food. You would often get it in small plates.
Or you can eat appetizers. Or you can eat
my God, that would be my favorite restaurant of all
dream.
time. Yeah. That's basically a finger food restaurant. Where basically,
nothing but starters.
I mean, if there was like a dim sum style restaurant that was just like finger food, that would be like my favorite restaurant of all time.
Is it all you can eat arancini balls?
Oh man, again, that's a great idea. But no, think. That to me feels like a good idea for a restaurant. This feels like a food that you don't think of as being – because when you think all you can eat, you think of foods that can sit for a long time, that can be served in mass quantities, that aren't like – I mean, that's kind of what I think when it's like all you can eat. Big salad bars and things you can kind of like – breakfast is good for all you can eat because you've got like cereals and just things that you can kind of leave out like for a while that you can like –
so it's a limited window of kind of being fresh or edible, right?
I mean, in my world, yes, I believe that is the case, yes. Like it's one of those foods that I always think that it would be best served fresh, or at least a lot of the aspects of the food would be best served fresh.
All you can, I don't know, just tell me.
Japanese. It's all you can eat sushi.
No, that makes sense to me. Like
really?
You see like.
All you can eat sushi.
I mean, maybe not sashimi, but sushi. Like sushi will sit in the Bay Maria or the window of a sushi like restaurant all day. Like that's why at the end of the day that they'll sell the sushi half price.
Yeah, well, I guess so, but I think maybe it's not even just the freshness thing that I'm worried about, but it's more it's all so often served in such small. Like I mean, you go to a sushi train or a sushi restaurant, it's all quite expensive, small dishes, right? Like there's just something about how do you make the business model of an all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant work? Like what are they serving up at the all? Because like at the Sizzler, you're making your money on the salad bar, right? Like you're hoping people like fill up on the bread and the salad. What are they doing at the all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant to cut down the price so that people can like eat all day?
I reckon just they're putting in like if it's just sushi. So let's distinguish. So sushi is literally the rice and fish or chicken and rice rolls, right? That is what sushi is. Sashimi is the fish cut up into small pieces and then you sort of stretch off into the more – I love Japanese food. But I would say that it's just that they're going to bulk it up with rice. It's probably going to be smaller amounts of the protein element, smaller amounts of fish and chicken and tofu and whatever, and larger amounts of rice. And I would say, because sometimes you can get like a California roll or a sushi roll, and it's like, this is like 95% rice. And also, they're not hard to make. You can make them quickly. So you would just cater to the audience you have at the time. That's why like Sushi Train, they'll have like chefs in there all day, just like making stuff to order, but also filling up the sushi train. I don't think it's that unusual.
Really? Okay. Well, I've looked it up. And I'm going to see if there's any description about how it works. So
this specific restaurant.
Yeah, this specific restaurant. Apparently, it's a chain. So, what do you think it costs then? What do you think you can eat for? Like, what is your price? Like, if you're going to an all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant, what are you expecting to pay for your overall price?
Well, okay. So sushi is relatively inexpensive compared to other Japanese, especially like compared to other stuff on the menu. So sashimi tends to be the high-priced item. I would say you can get a California roll for about $4, $5. And so I reckon the average man could probably eat like 6 of those. I reckon I'd calculate about, I reckon $30 all you can eat.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. So nearly $40 a person, $39.80 as of the 2nd of November. The price is going up slightly. So $40. Now, here's the terms and conditions. Minimum of 2 people. So you can't go by yourself. You have to go with somebody.
No Vaclav bar tours allowed to climb that mountain solo.
Okay, you can get in at 5.
Yeah.
You have to be out by 7:30.
I love the idea that they had to make that a rule because some dude was just still munching away. It's like, this dude's been here since midday. It's now 9:30. Staff are into 2 hours overtime. We need to get rid of this guy. His name's Vaclav. It sounds made up.
Okay. Oh, the menu's here. Okay. Well, I can tell you what.
Oh, great.
All right. So, oh man, they've got like, it's not just sushi rolls. So, like, it is like miso soup,
full Japanese menu.
edamame, sushi and sashimi platters, sushi rolls, nigiri, agadashi tofu, like prawn gyoza, vegetable spring rolls, chicken karage, like eggplant
that sounds
salad.
like a bargain. $40. That's real good value.
But that's your starters. Then it's got like mains, or you can eat mains. Teriyaki steak, miso steak, like teriyaki chicken. No, like a lot of beef, prawn, chicken. You're not getting your salmon, right? So there is fresh fish in the entrees, though. So you can have that there. And then there's dessert.
That's amazing value. That's amazing value. I mean, now you've got me wondering how they can afford to do it.
Yeah.
Like when it was just sushi, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like rice is relatively inexpensive, but this makes me think there's something going on.
I've got to be honest with you. I'm going to go down and investigate, but I will have to find something to go with.
Yeah. I went to a restaurant, a cafe in London a few days ago. I took Iona. There's this like kids. It's not like a museum. It's like a play area, essentially indoor play area, educational play area. And we got there when they shut down for an hour for lunch, and so we got there a bit too late. And so I had to find somewhere to take us for lunch. And it was a fairly rough area. It's kind of in this industrial estate. And so I searched all the cafes, and everything was like sort of kebab shop or fish and chip takeaways. And then I found this one sort of cafe that was like this Ukrainian themed cafe. Well, not themed. It was actually a Ukrainian cafe run by Ukrainians, Ukrainian food. And so I went in there and I sat down. And have you ever been in somewhere where you're like, I don't think that your advertised business is your main business?
Yes.
Like it just sort of felt like, so it was advertised as a cafe bar. Now, it might have just been primarily a bar, and that's really where they made their money. But I also had the feeling that there was some other trade going on just from the clientele who was sort of coming in and out, the fact that no one seemed to be eating except for us. And so I looked at the menu, and it was like mainly sort of, Ukrainian sort of / Russian kind of foods, like a lot of dumplings and borscht and that kind of stuff. And I thought, I'll just be safe and I'll just stick to a chicken Caesar. Because, chicken Caesar is like 4 ingredients. It's like a bit of bacon, bit of crouton, chicken, lettuce, tomatoes, egg, easy. So I ordered one of those, and it took ages to come out because I think they were like, fuck, this is the first guy's ever ordered food before. We've got to go to Aldi's.
Down the back's got to go down the road, actually buy the ingredients.
And so this bowl arrives, and I'm not kidding. It was an entire iceberg lettuce, like chopped into, like shredded, with, I'd say, 4 strips of the thinnest chicken. So like almost like that kind of chicken loaf you get from, the supermarket. 4 strips of chicken loaf, with like 4 tiny bits of bacon crumbled over the top. If it was bacon, it looked like that sort of faking stuff, piled with like a handful of Parmesan cheese, like on top of that. And then these croutons that were the size of like dice, like giant croutons, all for the low price of £15. And I was like,
which is what, like man. And $25.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm like, and the lady serving, she was nice, but I got the sense that like, all right, I don't want to offend anyone now. And so rather than just sort of being like taking a bite or whatever and leaving, I just knuckled down. Oh, and that's the other thing. It came with a bowl, not like a little sauce dish, but like a bowl, like a breakfast bowl filled with Caesar dressing. Like, can you imagine? Like you get a breakfast bowl of porridge. It was filled with Caesar dressing that I was apparently meant to put on top.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and like I ate the whole thing, but out of fear that if this is like a front for something else or like maybe the thing, because people think I'm an undercover cop all the time. Like even though I'm there with a toddler and stuff, that maybe I'm there like.
I mean, that's a good cover, right? Like to bring a baby along.
Turns out the baby's actually like a fully grown woman. It's just like we're partners.
A master of disguise.
Yeah,
the baby's your boss.
Hey, Will, we should get back to the world's dirtiest man. That article we started talking about.
I forgot.
Okay, so this was in The Age. Campbell McDiarmid wrote this article. World's dirtiest man dies after. What do you think caused him to die? Or what event happened before he died?
He had a bath or a shower. I know he washed
Correct.
in some way. Yeah,
he had a bath. An Iranian man nicknamed the dirtiest man in the world. I mean, is that a nickname? Like, you're not nicknamed the dirtiest man in the world, unless every time people saw him on the street, they're like, hey, dirtiest man in the world, which is not a great nickname.
Well,
dubbed.
I mean,
it's a man dubbed the dirtiest man in the world. Is it?
Unless he was
not
cool
to be a sub-editor.
Unless he was cool with the nickname. Like, and maybe he moved to a new school and he's like, at my old school, they called me the dirtiest boy in the
world. But is it a nickname? It's not really a nickname. It's like a moniker. It's not really like a nickname. It tends to be a shortened version. A shortened pseudonym that people use to describe.
Like, is old dirty bastard a nickname? I mean, that's his rapping name, I guess. Like more than it's his nickname.
Yeah, no, that's a stage name.
Yeah.
What about it? Well, okay, The Rock, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. That's not his nickname. That's like a slogan or something. That's like a descriptor.
Right. But The Rock isn't also his name. His name is Dwayne.
Okay. An Iranian man nicknamed the dirtiest man in the world for living in filth and not washing for decades has died at the age of 94. State
94?
media reported.
Okay.
Yeah, 94. Amu Haji, who did not wash for more than half a century, died on Sunday in the village of Dejga in the southern province of Fars, IRNA news agency reported. So then there's an accompanying photo, and I don't know, Mike, you might want to find this and drop it to the chat so Will can see, but the accompanying photo in this article is what is clearly the world's dirtiest man smoking 4 cigarettes at once. Okay, and the caption
is that to just dull the smell a little bit? Just like
The caption is, Amu Haji smokes several cigarettes as he sits on the grounds in the outskirts of a village. Yeah, he's smoking several cigarettes. And maybe, I think too, like, what this smacks of is, like, I get this. There are some, you just get, like you were talking before about during COVID, you just sometimes went through a phase where you're like, yeah, like, I'm just not going to wash for a while. And then you go, well, I'm not going to wash for a while. Well, I'm going to eat whatever I want. Like, one thing begets the next. So if I'm not going to have a shower for 50 years, then smoking 4 cigarettes at once, why not? Like, why not?
I mean, he made it to his mid-90s. Like, I mean, he was doing something right.
For decades, he had avoided eating fresh food and showering over fears of getting sick. The agency and local, the agency quoted a local official as saying, but for the first time a few months ago, the villagers had taken him to the bathroom to wash. I mean, why start now?
It does seem weird that, like, after 50 years, like you said, just let him die in his own filth. Like, this is a guy he's been working on this for a really long time. Like, he'd be used to it. Like, they do say with your hair, right? Like, if you stop washing your hair, there's a point where your hair, the natural oils and whatever, you never need to wash your hair again. Basically, it finds its own, natural balance.
And they say the same thing about deodorant. Like, we actually shouldn't be wearing deodorant. That your armpit is your body's thermostat, and that's how you regulate body temperature. And when you cover the secreting glands in your armpits, or you smother them, then your body can't regulate temperature, which affects your immune system.
Yeah. So why, if this guy's been working up a 50-year stank, like, he's comfortable with it now, right? Like, if you see a clean dude smoking 4 cigarettes, you're like, hang on, mate, that doesn't seem right. But if you see a guy who hasn't washed in half a century and he's, sucking back 4 durries, you're like, good on you, man. Like, you are living your own life. You've decided what your lane is and you've stuck to it.
Living your best life. Like, I wondered too, I mean, at some point in human history, this must have been common, right? Like, I imagine
people not washing
development.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Of course.
And they were fine.
I mean,
not long after he washed, he fell ill, and finally on Sunday, he gave up his life, the report states. Although Amu Haji had never married and apparently had no family.
No, fair enough. Yeah, no, that checks out.
The eccentric was viewed with some affection by local villagers who reportedly built him a cinder block shack so he'd stop sleeping in a hole in the ground.
Okay, that's nice.
He'd become an object of curiosity in recent years, with people posting videos of his strange behaviour, which included smoking up to 5 cigarettes at once or smoking dung from a metal plumbing joint. Now, see, this is what I'm saying, is like, once kind of one thing's off the table, then it's all off the table, right?
So, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can smoke that dung.
Well, is that more like, is that a TikTok prank? Is that like eating Tide Pods or planking, or, wasn't there a thing where people were, wasn't it called Leroy Jenkem? Kids were smoking their own poop to get high.
Really?
Sorry, Mike. I hate to make you look this up. Can you just Google Leroy Jenkin or Leroy Jenkins, like Urban Dictionary? I think there was a...
People smoke their own poo.
Something like that. It was something to do with getting high. And I think it's called Leroy Jenkins or Leroy Jenkins or something like that. I might be Mandela-ing this memory. But I'm pretty sure, Mike, if that brings up nothing, just Google, like, how do kids getting high off their own turds or something. Or something. Okay. All right. Jenkin. All right. Okay. So Mike's found something.
Oh, okay. Jenkem. Yeah.
So I don't actually know. I don't know why the Leroy Jenkem came into it, but okay. So I believe Jenkem had something to do with smoking your own poo or something.
Yeah,
like
Jenkem is a purported inhalant and hallucinogen created from fermented human waste. Okay. All right. So this is what you got to do. In the mid-1990s, it was reported to be a popular street drug among Zambian youth. They would purportedly put the feces and urine in a jar or a bucket, seal it with a balloon or lid, then leave it out to ferment in the sun. Afterwards, they would inhale the fumes created. In November 2007, there was a moral panic in the United States after widespread reports of Jenkem becoming a popular recreational drug in middle and high schools across the country. Although it might be a hoax. They're saying that in America it might have been a hoax.
Yeah. Well, if has Joe Rogan reported on it yet, then we'll know that it's a complete hoax.
Wow. Okay.
But it does make me think of that Chris Rock bit where he talks about, if it was discovered that licking a bullet fired from a gun would give you the best high ever, then it'd be the next day you'd see 2 people on the street like getting ready to lick a bullet. Mike, have you got something to add on Jenkem?
Yeah, I just saw this Sorry, I got this.
Are you getting emotional?
Mike's really choked up by tonight's episode.
Oh, man.
He's just taken a hit of Jenkem. Tell us all about it.
Just saw this BuzzFeed article remembering Jenkem, the greatest internet hoax.
Oh, okay.
Behold, the greatest trolling effort to make local news believe that teens were doing a new dangerous drug called Jenkem.
Okay. So there you go. It was a hoax in the yeah. All right, that makes a lot of sense. But originally, it was clearly something that apparently they were doing as a street drug in Zambia. So I always think with those things, who's the first person who discovers it? Who's the first person who's put their poo and wee in a jar, whacked a balloon on top, left it out in the sun, and gone, have a whiff of this, you'll get off your head.
Yeah. But I think that about everything. Like, who was the first person to eat an egg and go, oh, that was awesome. I'm going to have another one of those. Like, everything about it is gross. Like, it's disgusting. But someone persevered to the point they're like, hey, maybe if I hate this, it'll taste really good as well. I mean, it probably gave them some kind of like stomach cramp when they first ate it.
I mean, like, forget the egg. What about the dirty bird it comes out of? You know, people were eating that. Like, someone saw that dirty, feathery bird and went, oh, that looks delicious. I bet if we pluck it and cook it, that'll be really tasty.
So it says, among the law surrounding him, it was claimed that he ate roadkill, preferring rotten porcupine meat, and drank 5 litres of water a day collected from puddles in a rusty pail. Well, that's actually very
hydrated.
Healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's really good. I mean, wasn't it Elle Macpherson who said she drinks six glasses of water a day? I don't know if it's from a muddy puddle, but, you know.
That'd be great if Elle Macpherson came out and said, my secret is I've been drinking from muddy puddles all my life.
Despite this unorthodox lifestyle, his constitution remained robust until recently, with reports earlier this year of a team of doctors from Tehran. They examined him and found him to be in good health. That's like the classic thing, though, isn't it? Every year there's a news story about, you know, Barry Bloggs is 95 years old and he's had a glass of red wine and a pack of cigarettes every day. Like, there is that occasional person. There's Keith Richards. To every generation of Keith Richards.
But this is like a whole different level. This is an extrapolation of that idea. And there is some science behind this, which is, and this is what the worry is post-COVID, that people have been so protected from other diseases during this time because we've been so conscious about COVID that there might be long-term effects on like immune systems for not being exposed to, like, you know, the germs. This guy is the absolute opposite example of that. He has been drinking out of puddles. He's like eating rotten porcupines. Like, he's smoking 5 durries at the same time. He's been sleeping in a hole. He's like getting high on dung. Like, he's lived to his mid-90s. He's made it to the same age basically as the Queen. Right? Yeah. The Queen would have eaten the best food, had access to the best health conditions. Like, there would have been no one in the history probably of humans who have been alive who have been better looked after than Her Majesty the Queen, right? And this guy, like, lived in a hole and smoked shit and made it as many years as she did. So,
although, imagine if it turns out that Queen Elizabeth II was actually just doing a bit of Jenkem every weekend.
She died. Oh, no, right.
No, that's what kept her alive.
I was going to say the official cause of death, Jenkem overdose.
Yeah. Like, what do you think is happening in Big Ben? That's just a big bloody Jenkem factory, mate. Like, all the sewers in London lead to Big Ben are just pipes, pure Jenkem straight into Buckingham Palace. Like, they just have compression sessions. The Windsors just lock themselves in Buckingham Palace. It's just pure Jenkem 24/7.
I mean, that is the sort of conspiracy that you could absolutely get going on the internet. Like, that the royals have been feeding off they've had the waste of Londoners, like, you know, right? All the poo and wee of the common people is getting piped under the palace where they all go down for group Jenkem sessions, which keeps them alive and healthy.
I've noticed with my immune system, so I've been traveling for 4 weeks now, and I reckon I've been sick for 3 of those weeks. Like, started in New Zealand, got a cold when I was leaving New Zealand, flew to LA for a bit, flew from LA, and then I've just been consistently sick. I've been COVID testing the whole time because I kept thinking, oh, this is definitely COVID, or this is definitely COVID. Hasn't been COVID, but it's been every other like cold, chest infection, whatever. Like I've just been so, and Iona as well. Like Iona's had this persistent cough the whole time. I mean, that is almost also toddlers, but it's like, oh yeah, I just have not been exposed to this like range of viruses and microbes in so long that I was kind of annoyed, like, you know, not to sound like a Joe Rogan, but it's like, I keep myself healthy. I take vitamins. My immune system should be, I've got natural immunity, Will. I have no fucking natural immunity. No. I am as vulnerable as a newborn
sleep
babe.
in a hole.
Yeah, smoke 4 cigarettes at once.
Dig yourself a hole. You've just got to go and sleep in it.
Maybe there's something to this Jenkem. You know, yeah, I'll find out later.
It feels like this is definitely the sort of thing that you can only do if you're single, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's a chicken.
You think?
If it's a chicken and an egg situation, but it's going to be tough to find. Like, if you decided, you know what? Maybe this is the way. Like maybe, you know, not washing is the problem. I've been washing heaps and I'm still getting sick all the time. I've got to stop washing. And so you stop washing and then suddenly you're like, hang on, I'm not getting sick anymore, right? There is a point where you've either got to convince the rest of the family to get on board or they're going to leave you, right? Like how many days do you think if you didn't wash for? Like how would this go down? Walk me through. Say you don't wash for a week. Is that an issue? Are any questions asked if you haven't washed for a week?
I reckon I probably have gone like, I reckon 3 or 4 days before I start to get ripe. Even on this trip, because we've been living in close quarters the whole time. Like I've got this pair of trainers that I've been wearing most of the trip, and Jen was like, they have to fucking stay outside of the house. Like you cannot bring them in. They are disgusting. And so if that was emanating from my body, I don't reckon I'd get a week. I reckon a week at the most. And I am a sweater too. And we've been traveling through all these different climates, and I've been Baghdad, so I'm lugging all the luggage as well. Like even getting through an airport, so traveling from Portugal to London, going through 2 airports, carrying all that luggage that we bring with, like by the time I get on the plane, I'm drenched, like my t-shirt is soaked. And I was I couldn't even stand my own smell sitting on the plane. So yeah, I don't reckon I'd get a week. How long do you reckon you'd go before you would raise alarms?
I mean, like I'm by myself a lot. Like I think that I could go. Well, I think at the moment I'm like filming television once a week, right? I think that realistically, I could go the entire week in between. But obviously for the television, I don't think that they would let me get in a suit that I don't own, that the national broadcaster owns, that the Australian taxpayers own that suit, Charlie. I don't own that suit. And I don't think they would let me roll into that suit without like putting me in the shower first.
I think, yeah, in The Dirt, the Motley Crue memoir, there was a period in which like 2 of the guys in the band, I think it was like Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx, they had a competition to see who could go the longest without showering or washing their clothes. And they went like 6 weeks. And they were saying even then they would discuss. And these are guys who, you know, it wasn't like they were sitting stationary. Like they were having sex and going to parties and taking drugs and, you know, like, so they were stinking. They were getting the sweats, heroin, post-alcohol sweats. Like, I mean, the fact that they were having like sleeping with girls, like girls would want to sleep with them, and then they'd put on the same disgusting jeans that they haven't washed in over 2 months. But I think they got something along the lines of 2 or 3 months of not washing before it was like, this is untenable. Like they can't do no press want to come interview you because you guys stink.
Do you think that there was anyone who looked at the world's dirtiest man and thought, you know what, I can change him? I like his style. I like that he's an independent thinker, but I think that I can change it.
Women love a project.
Yeah, right?
They love a fixer-upper.
He's a bad boy.
He's a bad boy. He's a bad breath. He's a bad breath boy. That is.
Did you see that guy eating that raw porcupine, that rotten porcupine over there? I like the cut of his jib.
I mean, there would, if the internet has taught us one thing, it's there is like a kink for everybody.
That's
so
right.
Undoubtedly there would be women who'd like, that's hot. I love the fact that this guy does not wash and can smoke 4 cigarettes at once.
Right.
That's all I've ever wanted in a
There's
man.
a guy who can suck back 4 durries at once. I don't mind
Well,
he lives in a hole. Got any extra room in that hole, sailor?
Your cinder block home? I think I find like bad breath one of the most off-putting things ever. Like there's certain people in my life who just have, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's like a dental condition or whatever, they just have bad breath. And I find it confronting and a hard thing to deal with. So if the shoe was on the other foot, I don't know how I'd go. If it was some kind of like incurable, what's that, the bad breath thing?
Halitosis.
Halitosis, yeah.
Okay.
It would be incredibly
What
difficult.
if the rest of it, because like, I mean, one of the things that gives you terrible breath, of course, is smoking cigarettes, right? That's one of the things that can give you bad breath. What if the rest of it's just a cover for his bad breath? Right? Because the bad breath only stands out if the rest of you smells good and the breath
You
smells
think you're really
bad, right?
committed.
Whereas he's just like, if I just stink from head to toe, no one's going to notice my bad breath.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. Like, it is an odd tactic to take. Like, I think too, there must be a point in which, like, I know when my dermatologist, because, you know, I've talked about how my skin just does weird things now. I just get like weird lumps and rashes and stuff. And my dermatologist said, oh yeah, that just happens as you get older. Like, I imagine if you've built up this immunity to bacteria and stuff, that you start creating your own ecosystem on your own body, right? Like, it's its own, you've got your own biodiverse playground happening on your body. So in a way, he's probably protected by that layer of filth. His body's used to it. And if you peeled it away with the shower.
I would have thought that's the case, right? Like, I mean, because again, like, I mean, I hesitate to talk too specifically about this one guy because like, clearly you'd imagine that he was like mentally ill in some way to like be in this situation. But he seems to have lived a long life, you know, with some sort of like, you know, support and affection from his community and stuff. I just am interested in the idea of, is there a point where it just gets into a natural balance? Like, is there a point where like just being dirty it doesn't feel gross or disgusting in the way that if you just if you go from being really clean to being like dirty or getting like a smell on you, it's very obvious. But after a while, if that is your natural state of being, isn't it? Like with Toddy, one of the things with big dogs is they say because they have the double coat, like you're not meant to wash them in the way, like, you know, so with Ramona, we'll give her a bath, give her a wash. But like with those big dogs, you're not really meant to wash them regularly, you know, because they naturally, you know, maintain their, you know, so if she's like, you know, rolled in something or whatever, you might like try to clean that off. But in a general sense that you don't wash them as regularly, they do kind of find a natural balance. So I'm just wondering if this dude like I think he might have found a natural balance.
Is it all opposites too? Like, if most people find, you know, dirty things gross and off-putting, does he find clean things off-putting? And then, like, does he listen to Kevin Bloody Wilson for light comedy, but if he wants something really edgy and after dark, he listens to, I don't know, like, you know, the music of Will Smith?
I was going to say clean comedy. Yeah, that's his kink. Clean things.
Yeah.
Like
Jerry Seinfeld. Oh, like after dark, I'm going to listen to some Seinfeld.
Yeah, see him on the internet just looking at really clean things. He's like, don't tell anyone. But this really gets me off.
It goes onto Pornhub and it's just like people cleaning like stovetops and stuff using like GIF. Well, let's get to our mailbag. Before we do that, we can tell people they can go to tofop.com to check out all our podcasts. We have another one called FOFOP where Will and I alternate as hosts. And because we're pre-recording this, I have no idea who's next week, but it's worth checking out.
There'll be someone good on that one or the other of us are talking to. We failed, of course, to talk about the Band 5 again, but there is 2 excellent episodes of you talking to Sammy Peterson, the wonderful Sammy P, who has a Confession of the Idiots, which is a great podcast that I highly recommend you check out. Also, he did this improvised film that is like basically like a best in show style. You know, those films are like they give the scenes, but then the actual they're an improvised film. So he made this film called Fraud Festival. Have you seen it?
No. Is this Fiona O'Loughlin one?
No, this is he made a documentary about Fiona O'Loughlin. No, this is it's basically like a parody of like the Fire Festival thing. It's a local government in Melbourne who are trying to throw this big festival to bring it's a place called Coburg, I think. And the idea is that they mistakenly put up, somebody's done like a mock-up of the poster, and they put all these like big bands on the mock-up to show them what the poster might look like, and it accidentally gets posted and they sell 40,000 tickets to a thing that they have not booked, Lady Gaga to perform at. And it's got all these Melbourne comedians in it. It's all improvised. It's great. You can find it, just Google Fraud Festival. It's free to watch. It's on some website that you can watch it. I highly recommend it. It's it's not perfect because of the nature of it, the budget and the fact that those improvised things are improvised, but it's fucking really, really, really great, and people should be talking about it more than they are. So it's called Fraud Festival. Check that out. But you guys talked about 5. We will, next time we talk about 5 again, because we have we have a 5 update.
We have a 5 update. And Will, you have a book out.
Oh, yeah. I have a book. It is called I Am Not Fine, Thanks. You can buy it in book form in Australia, but you can order it from Booktopia if you are overseas. There are some signed copies at Booktopia that you can order. There is an audio version if you are in Australia. While we're doing plugs, my television show is called Question Everything. It has been so much fun this year. You can find all the old episodes on ABC iView, and I have a couple other plugs, sorry. I'm doing 2 live philosophy episodes at the Sydney Opera House as part of the Just for Laughs Festival at the end of the year. 2 international comedy guests will be my guests for those live philosophies. I would love to see people there. And then in January, my improvised shows at the Sydney Comedy Store are on sale. What you talking about, Will? They're always fun. And the Comedy Store is the place where I first started doing them. Sorry about all the plugs.
No, don't apologize. This is from Sarah. She says, hey, team, long-time listener, blah, blah, blah. Firstly, as a 90s, 2000s teeny bopper, I've been really enjoying all the 5 talk. Well, you should definitely check out the 2 episodes I did with Sammy Peterson. After hearing Charlie's tales of how Iona loved it, I've started playing 100% late 90s pop to my 3- and 5-year-old. But my real reason for writing in is to let you know that a horse's height is measured to the top of their shoulder. A few times during the biggest horse in Norway, biggest horse in the world, you guessed that it's to their head. It is not. Okay. Did you know that?
No. Well, clearly not. Because we kept talking about it being to the top of the head. So,
but why?
Nothing above the neck
head?
counts.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, what if you have a very long-necked horse?
Right.
Or if you specifically bred a long-necked horse? It doesn't count. This is from Molly. Hey, guys. I was listening to the episode Double Metal this morning on my way to work. After a particularly tumultuous morning trying to get everyone out of the house, I was enjoying laughing along to the nonsense of how many magpies Charlie could fit on his shoulders on a plane. I found myself thinking how glad I was that I was alone in the car listening, because anyone else would have thought this story was crazy. It reminded me of when I went into labor 8 weeks early and I was being monitored on the labor ward. Everything had happened so fast, I didn't have my bag and therefore no headphones. Mostly I was on my own in my room, so I was happily listening to TOFOP on speaker while drifting in and out of sleep. You guys helped take my mind off how worried I was about the baby while I re-listened to the Bin Saga and a few other beloved episodes. The only issue was every time a midwife did come in to check on me, it would be in the middle of some absolutely bananas story and I'd have to be quick to mute my phone or be faced with trying to explain what this podcast is and why I was listening to it. And she's come up with a slogan. TOFOP, listen to it alone.
Well, no, because the hospital is the perfect place, because we know we are the number 1 medical podcast, right? So,
well, it's interesting you bring that up, because she signs off, thank you for all the laughs over the years, from a doctor who's married to a doctor who both listen to TOFOP.
Another 2.
Australia's number one medical podcast. Number one with medical professionals.
Oh, man.
And that is TOFOP for this week. It's pretty cool, right? Another 2 doctors. Yeah. We should start like a database of all the medical professionals we have listening to the show. And that way, when you and I get sick, we can lean on them for some free healthcare.
I mean, with the amount that we've already unearthed, it feels like there are more medical professionals who listen to this show than people who listen to this show. And I know that's impossible, but it feels like that is the case.
I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Wil Anderson.
How long? Not long. Everyone relax.
Listener.